Hello beer tubers and welcome to yet another brewery showcase with me, Peter, the master of hoppers. Today showcasing a brewery from Nürnberg that is called Schanzenbräu. I tried their beers when I was in Nürnberg last year, and I've been lucky enough to get my hands on their core range of beers through a webshop called Bier aus Franken and with the help of Enzo. So thanks a ton, Enzo. The company doesn't ship outside of Germany, but other shipping companies do. So Enzo was kind enough to let me ship the beers to him, and he could ship it on from there. You might have noticed almost a week break of videos on the channel, and you can maybe hear my voice is a bit nasal, but I've actually not shot a beer review in over 2 weeks. With little kids, sickness is a big thing. So I don't know what it was first, but I think it was either the flu or it was COVID, because my sense of smell was lost for a long time, and it was like up and down like this, like, oh, I'm feeling quite nice, and then down, and then I felt like shit again, and then up again, and then shit again. And that's how I remember it was when I had COVID for the first time. And then it was like, oh, I'm just getting my sense of smell and taste back, and then boom, here we go, then we got a cold. So but I'm finally tasting and smelling on what I'd say 100%. I'm just still a bit nasal in my voice, so we can finally try some beer again, which is awesome. Like 2 weeks, I think, for me is a long time without trying any beer. But let's try some beer from these guys from Schanzenbräu. They're from 2004. They're from Nürnberg, so a fairly new brewery, and it's one of the must-visit breweries in Nürnberg, I think, if you want to drink classic beer. So we got, as I said, their core range. We got the Helles Lager, their Rotbier, and their Kehlengold Kellerbier. All their beers are unfiltered. It also says on the label. So you get all the goodies of yeast and whatnot in the glasses. You can also see that by the look of the glasses. They're slightly hazy. And actually the Rotbier, drinking it on site in the mugs when it's slightly hazy, looks pretty cool. So the only beer I've had besides the Rotbier is the Roter Bock that they make for the Bock season in the wintertime, because they had it there. And then I actually also had Kehlengold on the train home from Nürnberg, on the train to Bamberg, because we ended up getting to-go beers so that we could bring on the train, because, yeah, great idea, you know. When you're out having beers, like, oh no, we're not done, we need more. So, but I'm really looking forward to these, and I think we will start out with the Helles. So, a set of classic beers. Again, I think they also just released a Märzen, so they have a seasonal kind of release schedule, with, you know, which is the case with most breweries in Germany. So the Helles is 4.9% alcohol. It's unfiltered, as it says on the bottle. And what I love is that their website features all info you need. So it's an elegant, malty, full-bodied, and unfiltered Helles. And it says it's refreshing with a nuanced, or like a very specific hop aroma, and ganz klar zum Weitertrinken, something you can keep on drinking. I think basically what they're trying to say is something to drink a lot of. I'm just trying to translate here. Some words in German is rusty for me, but floral, fine herbal notes. It's pure Pilsner malt. It's 4.9% alcohol. The hops are Hallertau Tradition, and here is the ringer, Mandarine Bavaria. They use that in pretty much all their beers. 20 IBUs as well. It's interesting. I think all of these had Mandarine Bavaria, and that's not something you see many classic brewers in Germany at least use. So, yeah, this will be interesting. So let's check out the Helles. It definitely pours a slightly hazy golden yellow hue. I'm also not sure if these beers are decoction mashed. I don't think so. It's a fairly new brew house they have from Kaspar Schulz, which is in Bamberg. But I'm thinking they might not be, because these beers, at least this one, has melanoidin malt. And often the effect of melanoidin is what you'll get from doing a decoction mash. But that's just speculation. They might do it and add it anyway for even more, melanoidin-rich character. But yeah, lightly hazy golden yellow, white Helles. Check out the aroma on the Helles. Definitely citric. I'm wondering if the Mandarine Bavaria is at play there. There's like I think I remember that also from the Pils in the train. Like, it had like a pronounced citrus quality. But otherwise, crackery, doughy, bready. It definitely feels a little less robust than some Helles, and definitely to a hoppy side. But I'm actually getting a little bit of a more robust maltiness Maybe it is decocted. I don't know. They don't talk about it on the web shop. Like a lot of times with decoction, it's not something they do. It's just something, it's not something brewers talk about. It's just something they do because that's what they've always done. At least some of the classical ones. But it smells good. There's like some spicy, grassy nuances too, but a good amount of citrus. It smells like a nice hop forward hill. It's kind of like in the Franconian style without it being like overbearing. Let's try it. Cheers. Really crushable, really refreshing, very easygoing as well. Like very crisp, doughy, bready, yeasty. It has definitely that like Keller-esque feel because you get a bit of the yeast in there, although it's not a lot right now. If I pour it in the rest, I'm sure it'd be more hazy. But you get that Keller-esque, Kellerbier-esque, doughy, bready kind of vibe that you often get with these kind of beers. Hops are definitely there. It's not like overtly bitter or anything. It's quite gentle in hoppiness or bitterness, but the hops are there and they're showcased. And it's like this citrusy, floral, but also slightly grassy, spicy, but really citric actually, hop quality, which I'm guessing it's Mandarina Bavaria doing that. I wonder if they use that for bittering. They could also, because I think that has a higher alpha acid than Tradition. So, but some of these classic German brewers, they also do like first wort hoppings, where they do first wort bitter additions for more gentle bittering addition. And I remember some German brewers also talking about using aroma hops for bittering, where you need a lot of hops actually, but to have a more gentle bitter feel, which is interesting. But this is a great Helles. I could slug a lot of this down. The thing is, so I'm unsure now. Let's do by IBUs, I think. So yes, because I was unsure. Usually you'll drink pale beers before the dark beers, but I was thinking maybe I should drink the darker beer before the paler beer because it's a Pils, and Pilsners are often bitter. And this I can see is a bitter Pils. This is not bitter because it's a Rotbier. So let's move on to the Rotbier. And if you're watching this and you're like, what is Rotbier? Rotbier is the beer style that comes from Nürnberg. If you look at Nürnberg brewing records, there are Rotbier is mentioned as one of the styles brewed there, but there's also something called white beer, and then there is also wheat beer. And Rotbier is also, I think, the first style of beer that's mentioned to be bottom fermented. And it's really cool because Matthias Thun from Schlenkerla has been doing a lot of research on beer history and things like that. And he is actually speculating that lager has been around for longer than we think. And it's something that's been around in southern Germany for a very long time before, Carlsberg made yeast commercially viable. And I can't remember how far back he talked. He talks a lot about like history and how far back he thinks it dates. I listened to some podcasts, but it's really interesting to hear. And then one of the case in points was like these documents from Nürnberg that speaks of bottom fermented beer being brewed in Nürnberg, which is the Rotbier. The red beer in Nürnberg was cold fermented instead or something like that, which is really cool. Like some beer styles are just older than you think, but this is obscure kind of beer. You rarely see brewers outside of Nürnberg and Franconia brew Rotbier, and it's hard to place because it's something in between, kind of like Munich Dunkel and Vienna Lager or something like that. It has a reddish tone, and this is definitely much nicer and like much more reddish than the previous one I had, the Kupferstich from Wagner. But it varies. The shades of red are quite different. And sometimes, this to some extent also looks amber a little bit. Or if you think of other red beers, think an Irish red ale, that's also a similar color. But to some extent, I even think like Munich Dunkels are maybe even more red than Rotbier because they have like those brown but deep ruby red hues to them. But let's move on to the Rotbier. So this has a sweet malty note, it says, but balanced by herby floral hops. And this is their unique Nürnberg Rotbier that is harmonic and full-bodied. I think vollmundig is full-bodied. Naturally unfiltered, like all the beers from us, which is really cool. And this is also different because it's got Hallertau Tradition, Spalter Select, and also Mandarina Bavaria. So 25 IBUs, and the malt is Vienna malt in this one, Melanoidin malt, and caramel malt. So, nice, interesting. I kind of know what flavors to look for already. But yeah, it looks great in the glass. Lightly hazy, kind of copper reddish color, tan beige looking head. Let's check out the aroma on the Rotbier from Schanzenbräu. Yeah, this smells really nice, really nice with Rotbier. So this was my favorite Rotbier in Nürnberg. We went to Altstadthof, that was also nice, but this was just a bit more slightly modern in some ways, just because it's a bit more hoppy. Some of the other ones were a bit more sweet. This definitely has a sweet malty aroma, but it's not like too cloying or anything, not like box or something. And it has that honey malt, kind of honey nut Cheerio vibe that you can get from Vienna malt. And melanoidin really plays in with like depth of richness and breadiness, this like caramelly, not doughy, but rustic breadiness, like a countryside loaf, sourdough almost, actually, to this one. Yeah, and then caramel toffee vibes to it as well. It's a really nice smelling oat beer. There's quite a good amount of malt character to this. And then also supported by some hops. There's definitely a light touch of floral to it and some grassiness, maybe not too citric compared to the Helles, but that could be because of the malts present in there. But it smells great. Let's try it. Cheers. That's really good. That is really freaking good. Great. Not just good, it's great. It is like so full, but like this is how you do like really sessionable brown beer, so to speak. It's red beer. But like you have a lot of complexities, but they're from malt. But it's cutting the exact balance you want for it not to be cloying. Like sometimes when you get into playing around with a lot of these deep malts, especially in a smaller format, you want like a lot of input flavor, but you also don't want too much sweetness. Like it's harder to balance. And this one is crazy well balanced because you get like a lot of rich malt flavors, but they're never too rich because you have a decent amount of hoppiness that plays in with the malt complexities of the beer. And then it has like a nice finishing, like drying spiciness that really also helps to like balance everything out. So it makes it like a really nice session beer. Like it almost even has like a little bit of a fruity berry note or something like that, which is really cool. I think this is probably the best rot beer I've had. I've had minimal amounts, but there's a few brewers that does rot beer in and around Nürnberg, and also I know modern brewers. I think I actually reviewed one before trying this, which was from Evil Twin. But there's definitely a few brewers doing them, and it's a slightly obscure style. It's hard to get. Like some people drink it, it's like, oh, this is kind of like Vienna lager, and it's also the same with kind of like the ungespundet Lagerbiers of Franconia, which is kind of like Kellerbiers. It's hard to define, so when people drink them, they're like, oh, it's a Kellerbier. But when you talk to people in Franconia, it's like, no, it's an ungespundet Lagerbier, or no, it's a Lagerbier. So it's like it's funny, in Germany, they're very protective of keeping them like a lot of these sub-styles as their own regional thing, which is really cool. I understand why. Like you don't want people to compare it to something that like when it's your personal thing, although they are similar to styles that are, like this is a little bit similar to a Märzen or a Vienna lager or something like that. And I think that's maybe more in between, where it's in between than maybe Dunkel and Vienna lager. But you don't want people to say like, oh, this is a great Vienna lager, because like, no, this is our Rotbier. Because you want that, like you have the history of brewing the beer in the region and whatnot, and you never called that a Vienna lager. It did not come from Vienna. It came from your area. It came from Nürnberg. So it's your Rotbier. And it's like some kind of cultural pride in some sense. And I totally understand that. This is wonderful. This is really good. So much layered, bready, hefty malt characteristics. And the melanoidin malt really plays in with that heft, because melanoidin is the cheat code for adding when you can't decoction mash, for instance, and it just gives so much layering and richness. Again, a slight berry note to it, almost like a bit of cherry or something. There's like a little bit of a fruitiness to it, which I think is possibly a combination of hops and dark malts. Also, otherwise, very clean. All of them are clean beers. They just have a little bit of like a doughy yeast character because the yeast is in there. Although I don't think I got too much yeast in this. I mean, it is slightly hazy. But then caramel toffee, there's even toasted nuttiness to this one. It's almost like got a little bit of like brown ale type qualities to it with all the kind of nutty nuances. And almost like up front, initially, there's also almost a hint of coffee or something like that, almost just lightly. Like a lot of soft complexities, which these beers are all about. This is not going to be the big smack in your face kind of beer, but this is great. This is fucking awesome Rotbier. I think this is probably, the best Rotbier I've had. As with the other beers, this is also 4.9% alcohol, also unfiltered Pilsner beer. So this one is the most bitter of the bunch, 33 IBUs, and it has a precise malt body with careful, what? No, but fruity and citrusy hop aromatics. And what's interesting with this is not your classic Pils. This is for sure modernized Pils. Because listen to this. This is made with Vienna malt, just like the red beer, the Rotbier. Then also Melanoidin malts for, I guess, complexity. Touch of caramel malt as well, which is pretty caramel Pils and Pilsner malt. So a very big blend of malts. And then the hops are Cascade and Mandarina Bavaria. So Mandarina Bavaria is a German crossbreed of Cascade, which is really cool. So this is quite a modern take on Kellerbier, which is so fun, because in Germany, not a lot of brewers experiment too much when they're classical brewers, but these guys being from 2004, I mean, they can do a bit of their own thing. So like when you don't have like this long brewing heritage and whatnot and things to abide to, you can also play a little bit. So pour is a nice, slightly golden yellow color in the glass. It's got a off-white head. Yeah, definitely a gold color to it, as the name implies. Let's check out the aroma. Yeah, there is totally like almost pale ale vibes to this, which is interesting. The one I have, again, I remember the bottled version I drank on the train, which was in a smaller stubby bottle, being citrusy, but it was late, so I don't remember everything. But that's really interesting. It doesn't have the same peppery nuances as much, and like spiciness and floral. There's a bit of floral, but almost like a little bit of a honey elderflower kind of nuance to it. And crackery, bready malt. It's definitely more robust than the Helles in terms of malt character. But yeah, it's a really cool, more modern hop characteristic to it. Definitely citrusy, maybe not so grapefruity. It's more lemony to me. Or orangey, actually. Well, it smells pretty good. It reminds me a bit of thinking back something like Elchbräu, because they also use touches of modern hops in their German Pilsners, which is really nice. It's fun to see that also from German brewers. It's not just a thing in America where people they do the West Coast Pils or all these things. It smells really good. Let's try it. Cheers. That's really good Pils. Nicely bitter. Grapefruity. Yeah, it's really interesting because it feels quintessentially German. But at the same time, it has just like the softest New World flair. Like it's not like it's really like when you try the American versions of Pilsners, like American West Coast Pilsners or whatever, where you use a bit of a dry hop or something like that with modern hops, you definitely say like, oh yeah, this is definitely modern. This is modern meets old school. This feels old school with a touch of modern. Like this feels like it's just a kiss of Cascade in the whirlpool or something like that. Because it's not like that massive aromatic kind of aroma you get from dry hopping. It feels more like trying to make a beer that's still traditional and something that will still please people who like classic Pilsners, just offering something a little bit different. Also some doughy breadiness to this one. Nice, drying, bitter aftertaste. Definitely the most bitter of the bunch. But yeah, it is grapefruity and it's citric, but it definitely has touches of like peppery spiciness, especially sitting on the back. And that must be Mandarina Bavaria. I can't remember if Cascade has like peppery like, it has resiny flavors. It's like, it's been ages since I had a beer that was just showcasing Cascade. But this is great. This is really nice as well. So in terms of grades, I think I'm gonna go straight 90 on both the Helles and Kehlengold Kellerpils. They're very nice. I like the slight modern touch to them. They are good lagers, but I think I've definitely preferred other Helles and Pilsners from other brewers. But what they are really good at this brewery is their Rotbier. Their Rotbier is really freaking great. That is like one of those Rotbiers that you need to try if you want to check out the style. Again, it's what Nürnberg is kind of known for, and I think this is what the beer that these guys are also mainly known for. But this is just a really, really good Rotbier. It has a lot of flavor, a lot of characteristics, a lot of nuances, soft, delicate nuances. But you can like really pick it apart if you want and analyze it. But you can also just session it and enjoy it and have it with a meal because it's just a nice, easy-going, easy drinking beer as well. Coming in at those 4.9% ABV. Really good stuff. So yeah, fun to revisit Schanzenbräu and try their beers again. Again, the Rotbier is definitely the winner for me. So yeah, if you guys had a chance to try either the Helles, the Kehlengold, or the Rotbier from Schanzenbräu, let me know what you thought of them. Keep an eye out for the beers. I do know that they do get around. I think they've even had some in the UK at one point. So it's a brewery that you can keep your eyes open for. I think they have a little bit of distribution. And also look for these German web shops. Just Google search. And often you'll find German beer web shops that will ship around Europe. There is definitely some. But there's just been some issues with a lot of these shops shipping, and also breweries shops shipping to Denmark because of some new legislations with beer taxes. But that's how it is. But yeah, this is great. So if you had either of the beers, guys, let me know. As always, comment, subscribe, check out the Facebook fan page and Twitter and Instagram. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Ring the bell for future notifications about videos. And stay tuned for another brewery showcase with me, Peter D. Master of Hoppets. And I'm going to say cheers to my favorite of the bunch and see you guys in another beer review or brewery showcase or something else. Cheers.